Hey guys, Luxker here. Xenoblade X Definitive Edition has been out for almost 2 months now, and this has been my first time playing through it all, and I couldn't be more than excited to just go through it and see what all the greatness was all about. And I was able to find that out, and that was through the areas in Xenoblade X. I was pretty astonished by how each area was very much has been pretty pristine in pretty much all its world and its world building in general, and it's just been such a blast just going through it all. And I decided, you know what, I want to go back to that tier list I did over a year and a half ago with Yggdrasiel, and I want to go ahead and talk more about it because I haven't been really talking about those Xenoblade X areas all that much, and just talk about them more in general. So, and once again, I am bringing back Yggdrasiel for just this discussion video. So, how are you doing, Yggdrasiel?
Finally, hey everyone, I'm doing well. I'm happy to be able to talk for once. I've been inactive for a little while. Unfortunately, I've been sick for a while, but I'm doing much better. Voice has finally returned to me, and I've been able to complete my own journey of Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. The story, that is. There's still much for me to do, much for me to explore, many percentages to acquire, but overall, I'm doing very well.
Funny you should say that, because a couple days before I recorded this, I basically finished everything I could possibly do with Xenoblade X Definitive Edition besides the achievements. I got 100% Mira, I defeated a good chunk of the super bosses,
Nice.
got pretty much all the hollow figures and got the geek achievement. So I was like, you know what, that's pretty much all said and done, and I feel like I have a good grasp of Mira now and all that it has. So anyways, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for getting notified on future videos like this one. It helps improve my motivation to make videos like this each and every day. So let's go back to Mira and start over where it needed to be started. And what a better place to go back to than New Los Angeles. Now, I was watching the previous video talking about the Xenoblade X areas, and I basically barely talked about each area. Basically Yggdrasiel, you pretty much carried out the whole entire thing, and I know that you talked about since you live in Los Angeles in general, how much of a nostalgia it is just going through these areas, even though it's not the actual Los Angeles. You're just going through a lot of segmented areas in general.
Yeah.
But just going through it all, NLA is just such a diverse area, probably more so than any other Xenoblade game I've been in. You first get humans to find there, but then when you grow New Los Angeles, you get Nopon, Manon, Orpheon, Zarabogan, you name it. There's just a whole ton of races just to find in New Los Angeles. And it just makes a better Colony 6 of the Xenoblade series in general, so...
I mean, I definitely think it's one of the greatest highlights of the game is as you progress and you come across these alien races more and more, you see them definitely integrate. Some a little better than others in the city of NLA.
Yes.
And I feel like that's pretty accurate as someone who's been in LA most of my life.
Right.
You do see that feeling of this melting pot of a society in this grand old city. And again, yeah, just going back to NLA, seeing the sights, the areas of the coffee shops, for example, remind me of Santa Monica. The residential area, sort of giving me a little bit of Beverly Hills, more of the suburban.
What about all the
vibes.
pizza places and stuff, and all the hamburger places and whatnot?
Yeah,
I can see that. The pizza places are in every major city in America, so just adding those sorts of things in there is just definitely gets the feeling of this place is very familiar to people.
Oh yeah. But yeah, the vibe still remains the same, and in fact even better in Definitive Edition. The only complaint I have with NLA is its popping issues that, there's just so many different moving parts in NLA. I can sort of understand that.
Yeah, the frame rate's not great
but
in it.
I digress. Yep. Yeah.
Well, I even though like NLA is such a great like grandiose area to present itself in Xenoblade X, especially in Definitive Edition, I kind of criticize it a little bit for just kind of being a little bit too segmented from like each area. Like, why is the commercial district so separate from the residential district, like just like a long roads away? Why does the administrative district have 2 levels but just feel so apart from each other in like its layout? And why is the industrial district so far from the administrative district where it should be closer, because that's pretty much where all the bosses of the industrial district should lie? Like, I don't know. But then I realized, oh wait, American society is kind of like that, and American cities are also like that. Oh, America.
I mean, I was just thinking, It's like, okay, well, there's no freeways in NLA, but I'm just like, okay, well, I guess, it is a little segmented. Sometimes, you got to go to work, you got to take that drive. I can sort of vibe with that. I do think that NLA needed at least one more road, at least maybe from residential straight into the other side of the commercial district, and I think that would have been a little more okay.
Yeah, it would have been
just
much
going
more
a giant L
connected.
over and over.
It would have just been much more connected. Although, like, the helicopters are like, yeah, there's one way of just transportation in general. But, like, it just feels still so far apart for these people to walk through. And, yeah, it's not the best well-designed, like, city location in my eyes in a Xenoblade game. But, like, it makes sense because, yeah, it's supposed to be an Americanized city with, like, these weird roads that just go from one part to another, and these elevators and stuff, and helicopters just going from one place to another. A teleporter that goes to the Manon ship. Like, I don't know, it just feels a little bit too segmented. I kind of want them to be a little bit together almost. Like, have some cafes and restaurants and, in the residential district, and like have the cathedral be in the commercial district or something. Don't just place them in one spot. I don't know. But I feel like probably the biggest reason why New Los Angeles is such just a powerful like area, just that exaggerates or like pronounces itself in Xenoblade X Definitive Edition, are the side quests, the heart-to-hearts, making affinity chains with people in the city. They're all the main point of it all. And a lot of them are typical standard fare missions that are called in Xenoblade X Definitive Edition. But you can make a lot of cool memories from just this area alone. Although the Manon ship is kind of like out of the way and like not part of that typical like feel of the area.
Oh yeah.
There's just not a lot of interesting locations besides the typical Americana. Living in America myself all my life, I could just see that like, yeah, this is kind of the standard typical stuff. Like maybe in other cultures this stuff would be like, wow, that's just how America looks like, or it looks like in the future or something like that. But yeah, I just didn't really find like just the areas themselves interesting, but like the missions and heart-to-hearts that you make around New LA just being the most like probably what brings out NLA to just a lot of people who even play Xenoblade X Definitive Edition. Although, finding all the blood lobsters really makes you want to keep your eyes peeled a lot for just looking just looking for every single nook and cranny of that place and just spot them all. And that's how you enjoy New Los Angeles at the end of the day, so...
No, I know many people that are purposely waiting to do blood lobsters last or towards the very end. I've still not done that myself. I'm dreading doing that, but I'll get through that slog later on.
Yeah.
I think for me, one of the only complaints I have, and this is such a very bad complaint that many people probably will not agree with, and I understand why, is the choice to have absolutely everything completely bundled up nicely in this one section of the administrative district. And don't get me wrong, it's very good, it's quality of life, it's efficient, but in exchange for that, I feel as a player myself, I obviously would spend more time in the administrative district than any other section of NLA. just when like Nintendo's like, oh, like where in NLA do you guys like to hang out? And then everyone's gonna be like, administrative district. That's where all the stuff for my gameplay is.
Yeah, like literally all the rest of the stuff, like all 3 districts, all that they have to do is literally just missions. That's just it. And don't get me wrong, that's where most of Xenoblade X's gameplay takes place, is being able to go to these places and do missions and stuff. But yeah, like you're mainly staying in the administrative district all this time, and like they're not easily spread out. Like there should be a shop that you buy like food from in the commercial district, or like go to a church and like get something special from there or something, or the cathedral. Yeah, go to the Manon ship and like get free Moranium or something like that by just going there often. Like, I don't know, like do something with these places.
Or as a very simple one, why don't we have the AM management machine over in the industrial district right next to the Outfitters Acre? Or why don't we have, for example, we control skells and we customize our skells in the barracks. Why don't we do that in the skell hangar right below the administrative district, There's like a few spots, it's like, I get it, it's quality of life. But come on, like have a little more flair thrown in other sections of NLA.
No, I totally understand your thought process there. Like, New Los Angeles, even though it's probably one of the diverse locations in the Xenoblade series, I feel like it just doesn't like have a lot in many places, and it just feels like the area just feels so segmented. So if I were to put this in a tier list, I would probably put it like the top of B tier personally. Like, it's such an amazing area in general, probably the most staple area in Xenoblade X, but it could have just did a little bit more,
Yeah, I would give it a high B, maybe even just a low A again, if only for the amount of time you come across, or the amount of time you spend in NLA alone. Even if most of it for me is in the administrative district, that's not to take away from the fact that it is a well-designed area, in my opinion. The sights of it are very nice. You just usually, when you're in LA, you're having a chill time.
Yeah, totally understandable. So, all right, let's go on to the first major area of Xenoblade X, Primordia. This is literally the first place that you start with at the beginning of the game when you come out of your life hole casket, and then you go through this small little area at the beginning, and when you go out to it, you see the Millisor out in the background. You see all the diverse wildlife just come out and just introduce Mira to you with that banging music from Sawano just coming right out in the beginning. And then just walking right to a New Los Angeles at the beginning, man, it just feels so memorable in that way. But talking about the area itself, my God, it is incredibly massive. Like, and the brilliant part of Xenoblade X with its exploration is the addictiveness of just doing a lot of stuff in the Frontier nav system and just completing all the objectives in it, and just having such a great time exploring and just figuring out, oh wait, how do I get to finishing up this segment? Well, Primordia has that covered, because like Primordia is pretty much the biggest area in Xenoblade X by like how many hexagons that you have to fill out in the Frontier nav, and it's just such a massive area, both like from the ground and then just to go up to like the spires up top. It has incredibly huge enemies, such as the Millisors that I just mentioned. A lot of let me think. There's there's those dragon creatures. I can't remember what they're called, that they come out from the top part. But there's just several enemies from that just range from just humongous to like probably like the smallest little creatures, like those small spider guys. I can't remember what they're called.
The spider creatures, the Skirpos, that's what they're called.
Yeah, the Skirpos. Like there's such a diverse like wildlife just in this one area, and that makes you feel like Mira will get way bigger than the more that you explore, just from not just from Primordia, but going to the other continents as well.
So when I think of Primordia, most of the time, my first thought goes straight towards the entrance. So again, landing in Primordia, taking that short walk with Elma, and then you're exposed to these giant plains with the monsters, the territorial monsters just soaring overhead, or the Grexes running in mass. And then it's like, okay, well, that looks pretty cool. It's just like a cutscene. It just builds you up. And then you start to explore, and then you're like, no, this is really sprawling. It's expansive. It's lively. There's new stuff for a plains ground area, they do a very good job just making sure that it's absolutely teeming with life. I think they do an excellent job with giving you very good initial paths of lower level enemies.
Right.
You have the choice, for example, at the very start, do you take the slightly more difficult detour, or do you play it safe? And then it has, some of the architecture set up. You have some spires on the east side. You have a lot of these jutting paths that sort of lead into Noctilum. And you have all these like sprawling lakes all over the place, some of which you can terraform later on, like the Biano Lake. You can terraform that through side questing.
Yep, through missions and stuff, yep.
Yeah, and of course, again, eventually Primordia turns into your own playground, so to speak. Just because you're right outside NLA. You have a new skill or you have new gear, most of the time you're going to step outside and try your hands against something that's in Primordia. So
yeah.
Also, obviously, just because of its sheer proximity to NLA, and just, this is where the starting chapters of the game will take place or encompass. Chances are, outside of NLA, Primordia is your number one hotspot. It's where you complete your Collectopedia probably very early on. It's where you have your initial setup with Frontier Nav. So they do a very good job as an entry zone of preparing you for all the other zones.
Yeah.
It prepares you very well, in my opinion. And it's just a very beautiful area in the Definitive Edition. It already was in the original, and I'm going to be on repeat pretty much with all the other zones.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it's a gorgeous zone.
Yeah, like you said before, this area is just basically begging for you to explore with just a flight module, and when you eventually get it, and just explore around with the scale, like especially those spires that you mentioned that you go all the way up to the top. It also has like a probe that you have to go to. That one is so annoying because like it's so far away, and you can only get like after chapter 9 that you're able to get the flight module, and you eventually get it, and that the mission takes you to that probe, and you're able to finally collect it. It's such a brilliant Affinity mission to like just being able to get that taken care of and straight away, and being able to just fly around Primordia with the scale at first is such a memorable moment to me. Part of Primordia, just being able to finally fly around Primordia and explore the flying islands that are around, the fortresses, the land bridges, lava caves, all the many caves around Primordia, lakes, rivers, and beaches. And just finding all the wide variety of enemies, from like the Xenons that are on the floating islands for one thing. Sometimes you'll find those I call them Tyrkin clones, but they're like not Tyrkins at all. But they're supposed to represent those guys.
Oh, I know the ones.
The ones that
about.
You can find on top of those buttes and stuff, and you find those guys. Like, yeah, that's definitely like something that like really intrigues me, is using the scale to fly around and find all these cool areas in general. The many stretches of land above you, it literally just, this area just literally gives Gour Plain or the Bionis Leg just a run for its money, just as a starting area in my eyes. And because of that, it has such a strong connective tissue to Xenoblade X's theme of exploring areas as much as you can, and see where it takes you at the end of the day. Just kind of how Xenoblade is meant to be in general, and Primordia really knocks it out strong. it's a brilliant way to start Xenoblade X Definitive Edition with.
Absolutely.
But before we go to explore the next Xenoblade X area, I am very excited to say that I will be in Atlanta, Georgia from May 22nd to the 25th to go to MomoCon, an anime and gaming convention in the southern United States. I will be there all 4 days along with a lot of familiar people in the Xenoblade community. If you happen to be going, maybe you could get some goodies from me on the Birdlade variety. So if you're going to MomoCon soon, make sure you meet me there and get those goodies if you can. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's Primordia, brilliant area in general. But I feel like this might get even better when we go to Noctilum. So, in the previous video where I talked about Xenoblade X's areas, I talked about how, like, I was introduced to this area from my friend who had the Wii U version. And he was always talking about the hungry alligators of Noctilum, which I know now their names for one. They're called Dyluses. Fun fact about the hungry alligators of Noctilum / Dyluses. They're the best way to farm reward tickets. Literally, it's just basically you take one of the skulls, you'll get 3 recruiting members that are level 99. I used a few from Anel's video that he mentioned, and you literally go into Noctilum and kill a whole bunch of hungry alligators just right in the middle at once, and you get a lot of material tickets and Bongelium out of it just from that alone. And I find it really funny that you kill so many of these Dyluses. And, like, I just thought when, at the time, like, the hungry alligators of Noctilum were my mortal enemy. Well, they're actually the most helpful enemy in Xenoblade X because they were the reason why I 100%ed the game in the first place and being able to grind so much materials for that. So, yeah, it really helped me a lot for grinding materials. So, bless the hungry alligators of Noctilum, guys. Just bless them so much. But yeah.
Their sacrifices will not be in vain.
Yes, they won't be. But there's a lot more to Noctilum than just hungry alligators. There's a lot of dinosaur enemies, plant enemies, the rock monsters that come out of the ground when you come close to them. Like, there's just a lot of variety of monsters just in Noctilum alone. More intriguing than what Primordia offers. And I'm just gonna be real with you. This is probably my most favorite Xenoblade X area in the game, like, just by far. Like, this area just has a wide amount of diverse life around it, and, like, areas to explore, and it's not just swamps that you go into. You go into, yeah, like, caves, caves within tree roots, waterways, lakes, Nappa-made bridges, waterfalls, even places that you can get to with the Scale Flight module are really intriguing, such as like the top of the one waterfall, which is how you meet Melia the Endbringer. Telethia the Endbringer. Yeah, Endbringer, I did know at the time that I didn't know it had a big part in the story at first, with it saving us from the Tainted back in chapter 6, I believe. Chapter 7, chapter 5.
6.
Okay, yeah, chapter 6, and it just seeing it, like, just being able to help us against the Tainted, and especially having an important role to cross, especially. Just makes me really like Endbringer a whole lot more than I initially thought. And I'll be real with you, it's probably like my favorite super boss in the entire series just for that reason alone, and being able to fight it and the amount of times that you get brutally defeated by it, but like you keep persisting on to beat it. Like Serentinia, like Avalanche Abyssy, Tyranno Titan Kuridel even, like none of those have anything on this one at all. It's just such a memorable super boss. Like I already said, like the stupid theory about Melia being Telethia the Endbringer from Reddit in the past, but like now, like now that I put that theory aside and just enjoy Endbringer, Telephia the Endbringer, how it is, it really is my favorite super boss in the game, and in basically my favorite area in Xenoblade X.
So I won't lie, this time around, I don't know why, I was a little scarred by the very start of my exploration with Noctilum, because we're in that southern, more swampy area, and I don't know why, I was just aggro city with the creatures there this time around, especially in the starting chapters of the game where you have to go and just have a little bit of a base exploration of Noctilum to proceed. After that, it began to be a lot better, and then of course, you're going more north. You see the sprawling waterfalls just overcast into the ocean around it, and then you just, again, it spreads out, and you get these, the swamplands sort of like fade. You get more stretches of this lush, teeming jungle with varied, nice wildlife, with some secrets to discover, some caves. Our good friend sitting out in the ocean by himself, that's just, waiting, because, we all thought he was treasure at some point. We all know the one we're talking
You
about.
mean that Xenon tyrant that's in the lake?
Yeah, that's the one.
That one that has that literally reflects all elements, and you have to have like a reflection nullifying augment to even fight that thing. Remember?
Oh yeah. And then
that one is such a fun fight. I'll tell you that.
And then I will say, for what it's worth, and it's a little more unique than other zones in that I feel personally, and it's not true 100%, but I feel personally that the difficulty of Noctilum ascends as you move more north, as you move more up through the jungle, because then you start approaching some of these higher altitudes, and you start coming across like these giant mobs that are like suddenly in the 40s. Like, you're in the swamp area. It's like, yeah, you gotta watch out for the for like the monkeys and like the gators, but like the swamp life itself, like a lot of them, they're like Vespoid creatures that are like level 12 or whatever. Then you move up, you're against those like tortoise-like creatures that pop out of the dirt.
Yeah, those rock
and they're
monsters that I talked about.
They're like in the mid-20s. You keep working your way up more and more. You start coming across some bases, and then you're suddenly...
And then you find dinosaurs.
Yeah, there's more dinosaurs.
Those dinosaurs and one of the
They start appearing, these giant like tree-like monsters. All of that, all the way up to the Divine Roost. So you start coming across more and more dangerous creatures, and I feel like it's one of the few zones in particular where the difficulty itself is evident in how deep you explore the jungle, and I really enjoy that. But it's also just a very beautiful zone in general. I mean, the great canopy of trees overhead. There's a lot of caves for you to go through that also just affect, like, you can get lost in some of these caves, I feel. And then you start going into even deeper, like the, I think it's pronounced the Xinglong Glade in the center of Noctilum, which is beautiful. Love going there every time.
Yeah, like the trees over in Xinglong Glade are like purplish. It really contrasts with the all the green that you see around Noctilum, and you go to this purplish like grayish area and just see it like contrast so differently, and you can see all the wildlife that you just go through, with the indigens just strewn about and stuff.
And even with all that, I still don't know that I could call it my favorite zone, but it is a great zone regardless. I have a feeling now that we're a little bit into this video, I have a feeling like all of these zones, we're pretty much just going to call them the B and upward area, because Xenoblade X just doesn't miss with its zones.
Yeah. Yeah, so Primordia, I would definitely say an A area, but this is probably like literal S area. Noctilum is amazing. I love all the wildlife you go through, all the locations you go through, and just basically chilling out to the beauty of it all. The music's probably like one of my favorite tracks in the game from Sawano, and like I just can't get enough of like just always looking forward to exploring Noctilum. It's just fantastic, just seeing everything that like it has to show with you. And just in general, Noctilum has some of the most beautiful vistas in the game, in my opinion. Especially during certain times of the day, like during rain and thunderstorms and sunsets. Like you can see like various kinds of things going on, like thunder just coming down, the rain just pouring through the trees, the sunset in general. In some areas, like in some cutscenes, for instance. The waterfalls just look incredibly powerful. And the emotion just going through the tree branches with just going through the scale, like it's just an amazing area that was just crafted, and like it makes you want the rest of the game to be like that. However, I feel like as we go on, I will say a few more criticisms just in more areas going on, but I feel like the next area doesn't really has as many criticisms just going through them all. And we're going to talk about Oblivia, the big desert area of the game with awesome music, just like Morardain. Oblivia is such a monster of an area. When you will just walk in there for the first time, it just makes you feel like, nope, I want to go back to my safe haven of NLA and Primordia. This place just feels dangerous, like you're going into the sandstorm just rolling on in there.
It's funny because Barnabas is the only thing that scares me in Oblivia.
Oh, yeah.
So that's funny that you have that thought. Barnabas is what makes that zone scary.
Yeah, because it runs so fast. But I feel like there's a lot more scary parts of Oblivia in my eyes. And it just being such a long and bustling desert, not only does it have a lot of danger just going through it all, but it also has a lot of majesty just seeing all the, like, grandiose locations that, like, just you question why it's there. Like, for instance, the giant metallic rings, like, which we now know after Neilnell's Affinity mission that these rings were actually from Clarion origin. It's been speculated that these rings were actually from Mechanis origin, but no, they aren't. They were actually created from Clarion technology way back in the past, and they happened to land in Oblivia. And just flying around through the rings, just going all around them and finding all the secrets that you can find, even though, like, you only find, like, one treasure, and you have to have a skill to unlock that treasure. But finding treasure in general around Oblivia is definitely an excitement to behold. And it calls back to the philosophy of just seeing everything and then just going there. The typical Xenoblade philosophy of area design, like I talked about earlier. You see it, you go to it, you explore everything that's around it, and you just live in it. You live in this area, and you complete whatever, like, thing that you have to use with the frontier nav, and it just makes you, it just is so addicting, like, just going through these areas and seeing what it has to offer. It just feels so great because of it. And the element of danger that comes from, not just from Barnabas, for instance, there's other tyrants that, like, also, like, freak me out a little bit, like the giant sandworm that comes out, and Gradavis, the headless emperor that you find on the North Beach, that is even more scary and terrifying. Like, seeing that headless Millisword just on the beach like that, and like this giant like floating fish that's like above a chasm, like that freaking scares me. Like, why is that thing just level 91 tyrant just floating above this chasm? Like, I don't want to go there. But it's such a field. It's just such a strong, dangerous area just for that. The fortresses that are full of ganglion, the molehills, caves, and crags that were either made by ganglion or were just made there just to ambush non-suspect visitors, for instance. But also make it as a good living or hiding spaces for the ganglion as well. But, like, at the same time, though, there's a wide variety of watery areas just being in the desert, like the south and north beaches, for instance. The oasis that is below the floating island in the northeast corner. That's where the Napan caravan is, by the way. a lake bed where one of the Quarian rings just go to. There's like a big puddle of water just right in the middle of it. And even water can be found in like one of the Ganglion fortresses. Like if you go around exploring that place, just in a little puddle, and you fight like a really strong tyrant over there, a Ganglion tyrant, if you're not suspecting it to be there. And man, I can go on and on about the water, but let's talk about the mountains. Like, they were just crafted to just be such an exquisite thing, and like you can find like a lot of caves just going sprawling just around there and stuff, and you can find like a lot of treasures in there that are just hidden in the molehills. Like, I spent a lot of time just trying to figure out like how do I get to all these treasures. You know, they show up on my mini map. I just don't know how to get to them, and I sometimes wait until like literally in the post game to clean up some of the treasures, because like they're just all strewn around the place. It's like crazy and stuff.
So Oblivia, in my mind, does a very good job of like showing, okay, here's where I can go on foot, here's where I can go on scale. And Oblivia is the last of the 3 central zones I feel that most people explore on foot rather than on scale. Because this is a very big problem, is when people start reaching Sylvalum and especially Cauldros. By that point in the game, you already have a scale, so your sort of viewpoint of these zones is skewed just by this, just by being in a scale. So I think Oblivia on foot is a grand adventure. One of the things that I always look for in deserts, especially in video games, of course. One of the things I look for is this sense of grandiose, this sense of not a barren wasteland. There's things to do, there's a sense of exploration, there's mystery on every corner. And you nailed it right on the head. Why is there this giant chasm? What are these giant, now that we know them, Quarian rings? You know, we had that sense of mystique. And yeah, I'm certainly one of the people that thought they were Mechonis rings at the very start when we only had this.
Right.
But they do a very good point of establishing hotspots within this desert region. There are those Ganglion bases, in fact, one of which we scour thoroughly in one of the main chapters. We have this whole river that runs through this lake area in the northeastern section of the map, and this river just sort of snake paths all around the center of Oblivia and creates this gorgeous pattern where life just teems around them. And then it has a lot of gorgeous beaches.
You're right.
Yeah, there's a lot of...
Yeah, that's another place where water is. It's not in a literal desert. Like, there's a waterfall in a desert. Like, come on, you don't see that anywhere. Just a waterfall and then a river that goes in 2 directions. You never see that in deserts. And here we are. This is like a much more diverse area that like just came about, you know. And
then even then, its own fair share of caves, and yeah, there is its fair share of terrifying monsters. I know, yes, we have the one above the cavern. I know we have the headless Millosaur, or the true head Millosaur, I should say.
No, exactly.
We have that giant sandworm. But really, and I said this earlier with Barnabas is the one that scares me the most, just because you're never prepared when you meet Barnabas for the first time. It's like going out of the East Gate Plate in Primordia, and then Hayridden's right there for you, and you're just like killing some sheep-like monster on the side, and then you get smacked by a boulder by this level 82 gorilla. And guess what? You're in Oblivia, just helping Fog out with his quest, just taking out some birds. Yeah, and then you just hear dun 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 dun, and then you're dead, because good old Barnabas just snuck on.
Yep, pretty much. It's pretty that guy killed me a whole ton in Fog's Affinity mission.
As opposed to the rest of the tyrants. I mean, maybe not the Sandward, but most of the other tyrants in Oblivia. When you're back with a skull and you're ready to take some names. Starting with Barnabas in my case.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would go so far as to say Oblivia is one of my more favorite zones, if not my favorite zone. There's something about just going into Oblivia.
Yeah, definitely an A tier. definitely a high A tier area in my eyes, so fantastic area. Even in the epilogue, it gets a lot of spotlight when you, in both the Acts 1 and 2, when you, meet the ghosts for the first time in the southern beach and realizing, oh shit, they are turning all the humans into Saul. What the fuck is going on? And then things develop from there. You do like a few little side quests in the epilogue over in Oblivia, so it maintains a lot of importance to the story. So, but in general, Oblivia is just literally a place that that outright begs you to want to use a Skell just to explore all these landscapes, just going through the mountains and the crags and all the amount of water that you go through in Oblivia, surprisingly. And I was really feeling it when I first set foot in Oblivia, and it made me want to see them all through, just from both on land and on Skell. But, like, when we go to the next continent, it makes you... It kind of turns around a little bit, and I don't know how I would feel about this just going in, but Sylvalum, in general, like... I want to go through the highs out of Sylvalum first and foremost. It's a very pretty and refreshing area to just break up the action just of the previous areas where they literally terrify you. You're literally like chilling and relaxing in Noctilum. Here it's just a pretty and refreshing area just to walk through. It's just a pristine desert that has a lot of majesty and whimsy to it. A lot of people think this is a snow area just looking up close, but no, this is actually a desert, just has the mystique of making it look like a snow area. And the enemies are emblematic of this fact. There's a lot of like plateaus that have grass and trees, and it just makes it feel like it's so not out of place in Sylvalum. It has a dormant volcano in the left side. Ciel Lake in the middle is pretty much a strong centerpiece of Sylvalum when you go to it, with it being a very like when you go up to it, the water is just like reflects everything around it, so it just reveals like a lot of the beautiful parts of the continent just from those reflections of the lake. And having a lot of caves again, and just having you feel adventurous going through the maze of caves just all over again, and discovering all the dead ends or treasures that lay within it. There was one cave, especially that I specifically remember. It's a lava cave that's in Sylvalum on the west side, and it gave me a lot of trouble in one of the missions in Sylvalum, where you have to like save one of the guys, and you have to go all the way to the end of the lava cave, and you have to deal with a lot of those annoying flying bugs and flying flowers and stuff, and it was really frustrating, but I definitely ended up getting through it in the end, but it just kind of annoyed me. But I like those sorts of things. The Ganglion fortresses are an iconic part of Sylvalum too, but then we get to probably one of my least favorite parts of Sylvalum, and that doesn't knock it like all too far, really. But in order to explore probably the best parts of Sylvalum, you have to have the Skell Flight module to get to. One of it is the big giant plat ball south of Lake Ciel that even though you go up to it, you fly up into it in the Skell, you find the Everqueen super boss into it. Like, yeah, it's very cool just seeing it there, and it's such a great fight in general, just fighting the Everqueen. But like, why can't I just fight it by, like, going to it on foot and just discovering it myself? Like, why do I have to go, like, near the end of the game to find it, you know?
See, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit there, just because I like the idea that the Skells open up more possibilities for exploration. I don't know. My first time going to the Noctilucent Sphere and seeing Everqueen just terrified the crap out of me. So that's my side.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that like a lot of people really look forward to, and it being a big thing to look forward to in fighting. But like, Embringer is literally just right there waiting for you that you can fight. Even though you do have to use a Skell to get to it, at least you can explore a lot of Noctilum on foot. Whereas like in Sylvalum, a lot of stuff that you have to explore on foot is literally just all the ground. You don't see a lot of interesting stuff besides maybe Ciel Lake and the reflection stuff, and yeah, just going right through it. But like when you use a Skell, you're able to see like the best parts of Sylvalum, like that one plant thing that goes up. And having a Skell, you get to see some of the most memorable tyrants too, such as that level 20 tyrant over a pond by the Napan Caravan. I think you can. I don't think you could get that with a flight Skell module. You can just go up to it normally, but like it makes it easier to get to with a Skell flight module. To get to those plateaus that have grass on them, you do have to use the Skell flight module to get up to, though, and that can be a bit of a pain as well. Getting up to that dormant volcano, just going inside of that to find a level 60 tyrant in it, you also have to use a flight module Skell. Luxar Zern, floating above the continent, you also need to have a Skell to a flight module Skell to reach. Don't get me wrong, they're all memorable parts of Sylvalum, but I'm gonna knock it a few points because, like, even though the area definitely like has its strengths with the Skell flight module, when you're on foot exploring it, it just kind of feels disappointing, you know? Like, I kind of want to go to, like, a lot of these places just on foot and not have to go onto a Skell and use the flight module for. But I understand that this is, like, one of the last locations you go to in the game to explore, and having the Skell flight module definitely helps with exploration in that instance. But, like, I don't know. I want a little bit, like, of player choice in a lot of these things, you know? I get that you disagree with a lot of that, but like I feel like that's something that I would knock Sylvalum a little bit for. So
I think one of the issues that face Sylvalum and Cauldros, they are definitely meant for, at the very least, not even necessarily flight, but they are definitely meant for Skell exploration. You are very brave if you want to go to Sylvalum right away. Much more so if you feel like doing Hope's Quest and going to Cauldros right away. Without a Skell. Because, yeah, you could tell by the mob variety, you know, Sylvalum is very good at having those mystifying mobs. Like, the mystique is there, like, those weird giant creatures all encompassing Lake Ciel, or this realm of giants that's just sitting atop the canyon up to the east, or again even just trying to see what's inside the Noctilum in spring. And in its defense, I think Sylvalum has some of the best weather effects in the game.
You're right, actually. It has a lot of great weather in it. Yep.
Like, Noctilum has very good natural weather environments, but Sylvalum has very mystifying elements in play.
I will honestly, like, even though I love the Aurora, like, I find the fog that sometimes comes out quite annoying, and I have to change the time, so I have to get back to that. Yeah, I love it when there's an Aurora there, but like with the fog that just comes out nowhere, like, damn it, like, why do I have to have?
But then it's like, try playing that on foot.
I understand that you can literally just change it by changing the time.
I'd still encourage players. I would still definitely encourage players trying to get their bearing in Sylvalum and Cauldros. Play on foot. Give the Skell a little bit. Just play on foot, and then you come to realize many of these like creatures that are giant alone while you're inside a Skell is just massive, and it's just sort of adds to like this awe of like we're in some weird, wacky sci-fi sand dune region, and things don't make sense, and there's floating spears, and this thing's not like sand, but it's not quite like snow. Like, what's going on? And you start to encounter again more bases, but more unlike how in Oblivia it's more of like the Marnox and the Prone. Now you're coming across more of like the tech side of the ganglion. The giant like Zedoms and Galdirs and Sadirs and all that just all around, especially the northern area, especially along the Cauldros threshold and along the northern border of Sylvalum. It really adds a sense of like we really are like approaching some sort of giant like base or like home region to the threats at hand. But the rest of Sylvalum, it's good. It has a very nice sense of mystery. The music is very good to explore around with. It'd be very nice. This is the one zone more than any other zone I wish I could turn Scaleflight music off for, you know?
Yeah, because of the night theme just pervading in the area, you know, like, yeah, like that's another like fault on Sylvalum is the Scaleflight music just basically like getting rid of the whole music in that area and at the end. But like I know I keep wanting to dunk on Sylvalum. I do understand that it's a great area. I just find a lot of like the design of the area just a little bit disappointing if you're just only going to it through things on foot. Like probably the most memorable locations you can only get to using the Scaleflight modules. So and they're memorable for that reason. It just feels like that like you want to do it based on player decisions. So but yeah, that is Sylvalum. So let's go ahead and go to the last main area of Xenoblade X until we go to the one that's in the epilogue, and that is Cauldros, which I don't know why I said Cauldros in the first video. Like, I don't get why I said Cauldros. When I watched the video yesterday and me just saying Cauldros, I was like, what the fudge? Why did you say it kind of just like that? And now saying it its correct pronunciation, it's Cauldros. So
you know, you're all good because some of the voice work done in the new chapter, I don't know if you caught it, but some of the voice artists were saying Sylvalum instead of Sylvalum.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, bad voice direction, but that's for another time. Cauldros, no, Cauldros. Honestly, I've grown to like the area more and more as time went on. I originally thought the area was just too cumbersome, but like as more I went through it, like I found a lot of like beauty within its dark and drab and desolate like areas and just land masses. It's just basically like a beautiful location on the outside, but on the inside it just has like this dark and malice like feel to it. There's a lot of treacherous caves that you could go to. I'm thinking of that one lava cave that had that one annoying, like, monster that you have to do in one of Bose's Affinity missions.
Mm-hmm.
The Ganglion Acropolis. Oh my gosh, that area, oh my... Man, that's a very big place to have a lot of stories in, is the Ganglion Acropolis. And the mainstay location of Cauldros with the Ganglion Stronghold, just right smack dab at like the end of the area, and the feeling like just a very pervasive, and like you can tell that the Ganglion just really has like a stronghold on Cauldros, with so many enemies just on not like literally on the lava floor, but there's like a lot of Ganglion machinery just flying around Cauldros, and
That's
on
right.
top of
Skies
those,
aren't safe.
and on top of those rising flying towers that you see, just a whole ton of Ganglion machinery just flying around in there. It's not as like pervasive or threatening as Oblivia, but like the threat really comes in with the area itself. Like the danger really comes with it, and it makes you feel like you need to push on and be able to take on these forces, because you are now powerful enough to go through it all. Despite you possibly starting on foot, going in on the skeleton and just flying around Cauldros with the fly module is pretty much the best part of Cauldros, in my opinion. I know I said I docked points with Sylvalum just because of the fact that like you get to explore the best locations just using a Skell, but like using a Skell in Cauldros, I feel is way better, because you get to like, not only do you have to get to places faster with the flight module, but like you can see, like, you can fight monsters in the air, and it just makes it feel worthwhile to just explore, like, every single nook and cranny of Cauldros with Skell. You go on top of the mountain that's in the south, and in the northwest. You can go on top of the fortresses, and, like, using the flight module on the Skell, and it just makes it feel so satisfying, just going up to these places, more so than what Sylvalum brought with it.
I think that Cauldros does a very good job of having a balance between on foot and in Skell. I think the fact that Sylvalum, for the most part, the sky is very free. Not the case with Cauldros. Again, yeah, as you were pointing out, there's just a lot of stuff in the sky. And if you just got your Skell flight license and you're just going around all over the place, chances are you're still in your level 20 or 30 Skell. Most of the stuff in the sky will beat the crap out of you. So you gotta maneuver. You gotta maneuver, and that's a really good point about this zone, is you gotta make some maneuvering around. You're not free in the air. This whole area is very foreboding, and you make one wrong turn, you move a little too close in on something with your Skell, could be a bad time. And then the ground is also very treacherous, especially with a third of the zone being covered in, like, lava. Or if you're not in a lava zone, chances are you're in a ganglion base, you know?
Yep. It just all feels like it has a threatening mood to it. The area just feels more confined with the lava and the ganglion forces everywhere. Everything feels filled up, and I really love and hate the weather of Cauldros, like with the brimstone rain and the electric storms, just being such gorgeous, like, parts of Cauldros. Some of my favorite weather in the game. But the downside of it is they hurt you, and that can be really annoying, especially when only, like, a few tyrants, like, a lot of tyrants actually show up in brimstone rain and electric storms, and it can get quite annoying having to change the time to get to the right spot that you want the electric storms to go in. But man, they look gorgeous, man. Like, all the weather in this game is great, but I think the brimstone rain and electric storms just make this area look amazing. The smoke rising from the volcano during brimstone rain looks fantastic. Especially when you fight the super boss that's right on top of that volcano, and that guy is atrociously annoying to fight with the Skell that you use, unless if you have an Ares 90, but whatever. And the flying ganglion towers just look incredible. Just exploring the inside of those towers, and sometimes finding, like, big mobs of enemies. You find like Tyrant Malsades in there. And, like, this, I honestly really like Cauldros a lot more in general. Definitely, like, probably like a low A tier area, high B tier area in my eyes. I know that area specifically, I think we actually put in, like, C tier or something, or B tier in the last video. No, this area is way better than what I was expecting. So. Oh
yeah, and again, I still greatly encourage people to try and ditch the Skell and just explore on foot, and especially early on before you start getting really broken with your character, and just, like, try and push yourself against this threat that you're essentially in this whole continent that is its own enemy base, you know. And like with Oblivia, this is the second region pretty much in the game for me where, you know, you're coming across a lot of this ancient architecture, and it's really, like, intriguing. And you're looking at the castle ruins, you go inside the ganglion bases, there's these villas to the north and to the east. You got all these I think they're called factories, forgotten frigates, just overhead, and then, like, all the enemies are just, like, all around it. There's teleporters to reach them on foot if you wanted to do that. So it's really cool. There's a whole lot of stuff you can do in Cauldros on foot. And like you mentioned earlier, there are a crap ton of caves. Some of them are very dangerous. Other ones, the isle to the south always annoyed the crap out of me because I'm trying to find where its point was, and it's just in this little dingy cave.
It is. It's literally in the cave, and the only way to find the probe for it is literally like right on the wall. There's like a little bit of light coming right out of the cave wall, and that's where the probe is. And I'm like,
right.
Well, that's where it is. Gotta go to it.
Then you're looking at all these monsters just chilling in the lava, and they're like level 70 plus, and then you're just like, oh, man, I'm gonna get a level 50 or 60 scale, and then we'll talk, me and you. So it does a very good job.
Unless if you have overdrive and you can just one shot it if you have your build set up correctly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Cauldros is such a fun area. Definitely probably one of my favorites. In general. Not so much compared to like Oblivia, Primordia, Noctilum, but like I would definitely consider a much better area just going through it than what I was expecting at first, so. But yeah, that is Cauldros. So now, let's get to the brand new area of Xenoblade X Definitive Edition that you can only get to in the epilogue. And it's the worst area in a Xenoblade game, I'll be perfectly honest. Like, Volitaris, the area that you go to, is literally just a bunch of floating islands, and in the trailer, you saw that it looked very intriguing that you go to. You were like, what is more than just floating islands in the sky? Like, is there any areas that you can fight on that that are much more interesting? Do you go to maybe like a location that like you never knew was there before? But no, it's just a bunch of floating islands that literally look like flying poop, literally in the sky. They look like giant, like crusty poop just in the sky. And I'm like, all you do is fly from one floating island to another, and I'm like, really? That's all this new location has to offer? Is this really like what's in Volitaris all this time, is just giant crusty pieces of poop flying in the sky? I know I keep saying that, but I mean, literally, this just is the area that you go to. It's all brown. There's no like diversity in its color choices. All the enemies look the same. Like, is this really like the area that we were expecting to go to? It's just like what you do there is you go find your party members and the spears that you go to fight Void in the end in the Tower of Eternity. And all you do is just that. You just fly around, find your party members, go to the spears. It's hideously small compared to all the other large continents. I thought it was going to be way bigger, but no, it's about the size of, I would say it's about the size of Origin in my eyes. Just if you look at it just up close, it would be the size of it. Mm-hmm. And that area, if you put it right on top of Primordia, Primordia still beats it out head first. So,
oh yeah.
I think I was expecting this place just to be larger. I was not expecting it to just be small, you know? And the enemies aren't memorable, like I said. They're just the same. All the ganglion enemies are just the same color. Besides, like, the Trinity Processor Galder enemies, just to be able to get to this one spear that is blocked off by them. And it's just areas just basically just this one giant fetch quest area after another, and I just don't think this is the area to like send Xenoblade X out on, like just the DE. And the fact that you have to go into Chapter 13, Act 3 to even explore this area is just plain annoying on its own if you ever want to go 100% this game. Honestly, I honestly think this is the worst Xenoblade area in my eyes. I would probably put it in F tier. There's like literally no redeeming factors in it. The music's kind of nice, and the battle theme in it is really unique. The area locations are interesting because they're named after the constellations. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much Volitaris, the worst area in Xenoblade X Definitive Edition. Okay. Yeah, I honestly think it's worse than Origin. At least Origin had a lot of like mystery and mystique behind it. It has like more than just one color, even though the whole area is just purple. There's a lot of story behind it. Like, a lot of the cutscenes take place in there, and it just felt more interesting. This area, as a final area, it's just a place that you just fly around and just go to each sphere, collecting your party members again to fight Void, and it's like, this is where you send the Xenoblade X on? Like, no, what are you doing, Monolith Soft? I get that you're great at designing areas, but this is not it, Chief. I don't think this is great. I'm sorry. Alright, what do you have to say about Volitaris, Yig? I am gonna...
So, I'm glad that you keep saying and trying to compare it to Origin, because I was a little confused myself, and I had a talk with Nishquick Pops a few nights ago, and he had me think of it, don't think of it as a new zone, think of it like a dungeon. Like, you know, the Orsim dungeon, for example.
Yeah,
in Chapter
I did
11.
think, as an area, it's bad. But, like, as a dungeon, it's...
As an area, it's bad. As a dungeon, it's okay. It's okay enough. It gets the job done as a dungeon, not as its own unique area. And that's the mentality I've taken with Volitaris. Is it interesting to experience once? Sure. You go out, you find all the spears, you find where your party members are. There's a few chests hidden around and a few unique mobs. It's worth the run around the very first time, you know? If I ever go back and I recomplete Chapter 13, which I likely will, because maybe I need some footage or I just want to re-experience the story aspects. I don't want to spend my time in Volitaris all too much, to be honest. I'd rather just go see if I can't beat Void without the spears, if I can help it. You know? I'll find the party members that I need, and then I'll just go along my merry way. It's okay. I do like that they try to at least have a little variety, a couple puzzles here, a few things like, oh, you gotta take your Skell under this island and you'll find like a docking bay, or you gotta like start in this cave and it leads to the central point with like 3 other like sprawling areas for you to try and find that one party member and that one spear. I think it was, for me, it was Nail Null sitting next to one of the spears inside a cave. So they do a decent job with that. I appreciate the fact that there's Skell Flight fuel recovery that's very easy. So they don't make it difficult to traverse. Yes, you do need your Skell for the zone. I understand that. It's more than fine. They throw a bunch of Skells your way anyway at this point in the definitive edition. So, it's all right. It's a little more disappointing than I would have liked. I think it was a lot more grandiose, obviously, with those first teases in the trailers. I was expecting a little bit more.
Yeah, that's what I expected too, because like you're expecting it to be a literally new continent 10 years after the base game, and here we just get a final dungeon-sized area that is literally just disappointing in every way possible, in my opinion. It's literally, like I said, the floating islands literally look like giant pieces of poop just thrown around in this area, and you expect me to go around and find the spears to fight Void in, and I can't defend this. I know a certain YouTuber has been defending this area, but like I'm just not one of them. I am Volitaris' biggest hater. I can't say true enough about it that it's probably one of the worst final dungeons, if you even call it that. It's not even a hard final dungeon. It's just it just begs for disappointment just going to it, and I just don't know. Like I love the music, don't get me wrong. The music by Sawano and the new Bell theme in there is superb. Probably some of the best music in Xenoblade X in my opinion. Otherwise just not great otherwise, really.
So for you, we're gonna chalk it up to you being a hater. For me, I'm gonna say it's all right. I'm better off looking at it as a dungeon than as a zone, and I think that's fair. Definitely a C+.
Yeah, I'm putting this all the way in F. I'm sorry. This is like, if I were to rank Mario and Luigi Dream Team and Volitaris, I would probably put Volitaris. I would think it's worse than Mario and Luigi Dream Team. So
I will say at the very least,
I'm a big Mario and Luigi. I'm a big Mario and Luigi Dream Team hater, but Volitaris is like, you're literally flying through giant pieces of poop for flying islands. So I think it's literal. I'm just saying, people, you're literally flying through pieces of poop, just literally doing fetch quests on them as a final dungeon, and that's pretty much all it is to it. So then that's it. That's all the areas redone in Xenoblade X Definitive Edition. I know I kind of went out on a sour note, but like, in general, all the areas in Definitive Edition really like was addicting to go through. Like, I find that to be the best part of Xenoblade X is its areas and being able to explore them and being able to complete them. Every single frontier nav point I completed, just fantastic all around, and I really did enjoy it. Except that one area in the epilogue that really made me disappointed as a way of sending Xenoblade X off. But like, I love all 5 major continents. I love NLA. That's pretty much the best part of Xenoblade X in my eyes. So, any final thoughts about the Xenoblade X areas, Yggdrasiel?
Overall, it's just still a sheer delight to be able to return to Mira, especially with so many new players who've been able to share their experiences, show off all the new vistas that they're coming across. It's still a good land of intrigue overall, a lot of mystique. The Definitive Edition just enhancing the beauty that I already fell in love with this game back on the Wii U. Yeah, I'm still gonna be Oblivia's top fan.
Yeah, and I'm Noctilum's top fan for that reason. Oblivia is fantastic. Noctilum, in my eyes, is way better than like anybody can think about. So Yggdrasiel, where can we find you at?
You can find me here on YouTube. I'm also available on X, formerly known as Twitter, and also on the Blue Sky.
Yes, just find us on Blue Sky because X/Twitter is going down in the dumps in another year. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching until the very end. But don't forget to hit subscribe and check out my other videos as well. I'm going to be soon doing my Pied Piper fan remake Let's Play, and it's going to be super fantastic. So you definitely don't want to miss that, Xenosaga Pied Piper fans, or just Xenosaga fans in general. Or Xeno fans, it doesn't really matter. So yeah, until next time, see you on the other side!